Hello everyone, my name is Chloe and today I am here with a brand new video. Welcome to Brunette Bibliophile, where I post bookish videos and writing content. Today I am here to talk about so many things that I read during the month of May. I find that now that I am no longer in school or planning large life events, my reading has gone up so much. And I read so much this month, probably about as much as I read last month. And I'm so excited to talk about everything today, so we're going to just jump right in and get started. So the first book I completed this month was Georgie All Along by Kate Clayborn. This is a first for Kate Clayborn for me, and it's also her new release. It's also the first book of the month pick that I have picked up in all of 2023. I heard a lot of hype for this book, and I did enjoy listening to it, but ultimately I did end up giving it 3.5 stars. Outside of the romance and the close proximity, I just found the rest of this story to be kind of boring. I do think that it is a good story about finding who you are outside of like your work personality or who you think you should be into who you truly are. But ultimately, I just found that to be boring, and I only really cared about the romance. I don't think I'm giving up on Kate Clayborn yet, because a 3.5 star is still pretty close to a 4 for me, so I'll kind of just have to test the waters with other books and see how I feel. Next, I read Betty White in Person by Betty White. This is her first memoir that she released. I believe it was in the 80s. If you remember back to about 2 months ago, I read her second memoir, which was If You Ask Me, and of course you won't. So I knew I wanted to pick up her other two that she has published. And this was the first one, and it followed a lot of her earlier life, and I think it ended sometime when Golden Girls was still airing and being filmed, because she did talk about it a lot in the present tense. Betty White was such a beautiful person, and I really enjoyed this one, and I gave it 5 stars. So now I'm going to talk about 2 books that I read spread out throughout the month. I didn't read them back to back, but I'm going to talk about them back to back, and that was the first 2 books of the Sweep series by Kate Tiernan. So the first 2 books are called Book of Shadows and The Coven, and I read them a couple of weeks apart. Now this book has the first 3 books in it. I'm currently reading the 3rd book and I haven't finished it, so we're only going to talk about the first 2. These are rereads for me. I read them probably over 10 years ago at this point originally, and I really enjoyed this series during my teen years. I remember this series being one that hugely influenced my reading during my middle school years. I don't have a lot to say about the first 2 books. They are a product of their time. They were originally published in the early 2000s, so just think about it that way, I guess. There's a lot of like stupid teen drama, boys, stuff like that. But it is following a teenager named Morgan who discovers that she really enjoys Wicca and that she is actually a blood witch. There's like 15 books in this series, but I just really felt like rereading it, so I'm just slowly working my way through that series. Next, I read a couple of books for review. The first one was The Big Reveal by Sasha Velour. This is an illustrated manifesto of drag. I did receive an audiobook copy from the Libro FM ALC program in exchange for an honest review, and all thoughts and opinions are my own. There are also content warnings for death of a parent, homophobia, and illness. I do recommend seeking a full list of content warnings before picking up this book. So I'm going to link my review in the description below, but I had no idea that Sasha Velour was releasing a book until I saw it on the ALCs. This is a combination of the history of drag and also a bit of a memoir for Sasha Velour themselves. And I would like to point out that Sasha Velour's season on Drag Race, season 9, was probably one of the most influential seasons of the entire series. It has definitely shaped a lot of what we see in current seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. Most notably, reveals during lip syncs. The one that was done during Sasha Velour's finale lip sync was absolutely phenomenal and definitely influenced a lot of ones that we presently see. I did listen to the audiobook and I found it very easy to listen to throughout my day. You do get a lot of history about drag. You can tell that this is definitely researched well, and ultimately I enjoyed it and gave it 4 stars. Check out my review linked in the description below. Next, I read another book for review, and it was All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This is probably the oldest review book I had to read and review, so I finally got to it. And I also received an audiobook from the Libro FM ALC program, so thank you to that program for providing me with an audiobook, and all thoughts and opinions are my own. Now, the list of content warnings before we get into this one are for parental illness and death, assault, family assault, alcohol abuse, drug dealing, drug abuse, overdose, off-page assault of a child, racism, and a lot more. I also recommend seeking a full content warning list before going into this one. So I was definitely interested in reading a book by Sabaa Tahir that is not set in the fantasy world. She released the Ember and the Ashes series, and I never finished that series. I only read the first two. So I thought that a contemporary from Sabaa Tahir was definitely going to be more my speed. Keep in mind that this is a very hard-hitting contemporary, and it's written in a then-now theme. We alternate chapters between a couple of different people, but the then and now perspective is following in the past a woman who is getting married and she moves to the US and they purchase a motel, and then the present time, the now, is following her child. This book was filled with so many tragedies. I definitely needed a palate cleanser light read after reading this one. And I was worried that we weren't going to get a completely satisfying ending, but Sabaa Tahir managed to turn it around to seem like there would be a happy future. I'm not sure if I'm going to read anything else by Sabaa Tahir. I think if anything, it'll be on a case-by-case basis based off of what she is publishing. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars. And of course, the next book I read was not a light read. I picked up Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. This was for the Buzzword Challenge this month, which was flavor, and this was also a book that has been on my radar. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling in a kind of like Italian mafia villain gets the girl setting. That's the best way I can explain it. And I actually really enjoyed this book. I am looking forward to continuing on with the series. I'm not sure if we're going to be following other characters in the series or if it's going to be completely different, but I surprisingly really enjoyed this one. If you don't care for mafia gruesome stuff, I don't recommend it. Normally I don't care for that kind of stuff, but overall I just ended up really enjoying the book and I was able to look past all of that. I gave this one 4 stars. This next book I just got a copy of, so I am able to show you all in video. But I picked up Happy Place by Emily Henry. This was both an anticipated release for 2023 and a book for review. And I received an audiobook from the Libro FM ALC program in exchange for an honest review. All thoughts and opinions are my own. Emily Henry has reached auto-by-author status for me. She's been at that status, but she just always is now, since Beach Read. Something that I noticed when I was listening to Book Lovers last year is that I couldn't understand why that book had not stuck with me in the way Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation had. While listening to this, I figured it out. While I was listening to this book, I was having such a great time. I was laughing. I love the narration with Julia Whelan, who I think is an amazing narrator, and I was having such a great time. But I think I realized that the impact where it really, really sticks in my brain is when I read it with my eyeballs. So I do anticipate rereading this with my eyes, probably in a couple of months to a year. I'll be doing the same thing with Book Lovers, and honestly everything else that she's written. She just has a way of writing romance that each has its own distinct vibe within its book. And this book delivered exactly what I was expecting, and I loved it. Romance, sass, crushing feelings, all of it was so good, and I gave this one 5 stars. Next, I picked up Let Love Rule by Lenny Kravitz. This is a manifesto of how he began in music. I didn't really have any intent with picking this up. I had been looking for some more memoirs to listen to, and I do enjoy Lenny Kravitz. I know him a little bit from his music, mostly from his portrayal of Cinna in the Hunger Games series. I did not end up rating this book. I don't know if I had a particular reason why. I just felt like picking this up and listening to it. His voice is so nice, and I just wanted another memoir to read. So that's basically the story behind this book, and that's really all I have to say about it. Next, I picked up my second Book of the Month book of the whole year, and it was Anna Maria and the Fox by Liana de la Rosa. This is the first book in a new series. We're following 3 sisters who are from Mexico, and they move to England, to London, to be safe during the French takeover of Mexico. I think this book had a lot of really good historical elements, and you definitely got a lot of the history aspect of it. I really thought it was interesting to see this take done in a Bridgerton style season, but ultimately there just wasn't enough romance for me. The romance did come, albeit it came very late in the book, and I don't know, I think it was just too much of a build-up for me, or too long of a build-up, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. I had very high hopes for this book. I do think I will read the second book just to see if I feel better about it or if my feelings stay about the same, but I'm a little bummed with this one. Overall, 3.5 stars. Next, I read Darlene Venom by Parker S. Huntington. I have a couple of thoughts with this one. First of all, I picked this one up purely based off of one of those like one-line synopsises that you see on TikTok. This book ended up being a bit different than what I was expecting, but it turned out to be in a really good way. There was an absolute bomb dropped at the end of this book. Like the very second to last page, a bomb was dropped on this book, which absolutely would have made it a 5-star book, except for the fact that this book is so damn long. The amount of times the main characters are like, this is the last time I'll see so-and-so, and then they literally see each other a couple of days later, and it happened multiple times, could have taken off like 50 pages. So I dropped it to a 4 purely because of that, but if it hadn't been for that, it would have been a 5-star read. It was amazing. Next, I picked up Beartown by Frederick Bachman, and I'm only going to briefly touch on this because the BookTube Chicks Book Club actually read this for the month of May, and we just had our live show, so I will link it in the description below. Content warnings in this book for sexual assault and a little bit of homophobia. I am very much the minority with this book in the fact that I gave it 2.5 stars. I just didn't care enough. You'll hear a lot of my thoughts in the recording of the live show, but there was too much time spent building up to the main event, and there was so much of trying to get us to care about these characters because hockey. And I get that it was trying to do it because of Community, because it's a small town, but I didn't care. If the main event had happened a bit sooner, maybe my rating would be different, because everything after that main event was interesting, but I was so bored and I had reached a point where I didn't care at that point. I'm glad people really like this book, but I did not. Next, I picked up Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is the second book in the Never After series. This is in no way related to any other books in the series. Each book can be read on its own. And this one was completely different from the first one. This one is a retelling of The Lion King, but there's also a little bit of Hamlet in there. And I enjoyed aspects of this book, but I was also a little bored with elements of this one as well. It also doesn't help that I really don't care for The Lion King anymore. But with this one, I gave it 3 stars. I definitely wanted to finish it because I'm the type of person who has to finish it so I can read the next one in the series. And I'm definitely still interested to see what else Emily McIntyre writes and publishes because I'm going to continue on with the next book. This one was just kind of like dragging a little bit in anticipation of getting to like the main events. And these next 2 books I am only going to briefly talk about because they are actually for a vlog video that you guys are going to see in about 2 weeks. The first one I read was Slammed by Colleen Hoover. This one I listened to the audiobook and it was actually a very, very fast read. This is her debut novel that came out in 2012, and we are following a girl who moves from Texas to Michigan after the death of her father, and she befriends her neighbor Will, who is really into slam poetry. This was pretty good. It had a couple of twists that I wasn't even expecting, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. It is the first in a trilogy, and I do anticipate continuing on with this series. And then the other book that I read for that vlog, and the final book that I completed this month, was Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I also gave 4 stars, and it kind of discusses what would happen if different choices were made. I think this was her 3rd book that she released. It was before she started writing historical books, but I really enjoyed this one as well. This was the last one that I had to read on her backlist. And now you guys get to find out how these 2 books are related in any way, shape, or form that weren't them being in the same vlog. But hopefully that vlog will be out in the next 2 weeks or so, and then you guys will know why I read these for the same vlog. So that is everything that I read during the month of May. I had a lot of highs and lows, a lot of just middle of the road books, a lot of review books got done, and I am just very happy with how my reading has been going so far this year. So that is all I have for you all today. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and click subscribe. I post new videos every week, so click subscribe so you can be updated for when I post those, and leave an emoji in the comments to let me know that you watched this video. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!
In the darkness, I don't feel so cold.